All right, welcome back everyone for another deep dive.
Always fun.
Today we're diving into some pretty intense stuff. The 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene.
hmm
But don't worry.
It's not as
We're not going full military here.
yeah, not as intense as it sounds.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be like,
Yeah, we're not giving battle plans.
yeah, no,
We're looking at the book excerpts and notes that we have, and we're going to kind of pull out the good stuff,
exactly.
the surprising stuff,
The most useful and surprising bits
and see how we can apply that
for their everyday.
to everyday life.
Yeah.
So whether it's at work, in your relationships,
Mm-hmm.
just navigating the world.
Achieving your goals.
Yeah.
I mean, Greene's core idea is that life, in a lot of ways, that's a battlefield.
Okay.
Not literally, of course.
Right.
But we are facing challenges,
Right.
constantly making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And he argues that military principles can help us kind of navigate those a bit better.
Okay, so I'm with you on that in theory, but
Yeah.
just even thinking about my daily to-do list
Right.
is oh, I have to apply war strategy to this feels a little overwhelming.
Yeah, I could see that.
Where do we even begin with this?
Well, Greene starts by laying out the mindset of a strategic warrior.
Okay.
One of the key principles is judging people
Okay.
by their actions, not just their words.
Oh, that's interesting.
Think about how often we get caught up in, promises or what things look
Yeah,
like.
for sure.
So he's saying see through that
Mm-hmm.
and focus on what people are actually doing.
Actions speak louder than words, right?
Exactly.
And it's not just about judging others, it's also about
Absolutely.
being aware of our own actions.
Yep.
How do those match up with our goals?
Yeah, are we walking the walk?
Right, exactly.
Another important ideal he talks about is rising above those emotional reactions.
Yeah.
So in the heat of the moment, it's really easy to get swept up in anger or fear
Oh, yeah.
or excitement, even.
Yeah, for sure.
But a strategic warrior, according to Greene, learns to kind of step back,
Mm-hmm.
look at the situation calmly,
Okay.
and then make decisions based on logic.
So thinking long term
Yeah, long-term goal.
instead of that immediate reaction.
Exactly.
Which is easier said than done, I gotta say.
Oh, for sure.
When you're in a stressful situation, it's hard to remember to take a breath.
It's it's fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
We just want to react.
Right.
So he's talking about.
But I can see how valuable that would be to develop that kind of
Exactly.
that emotional discipline.
It's like training yourself to respond instead of just react.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Greene argues that this internal battle, mastering our emotions, is the most important one.
Mm-hmm.
He calls it actually self-directed warfare.
Oh, wow.
It's about, knowing yourself, your weaknesses,
Yeah.
your tendencies,
Right.
working to overcome them.
Okay, so we're not just fighting external enemies. We're fighting that enemy within.
Exactly.
And one of the strategies he talks about for this is
There are so many good ones.
the polarity strategy, right?
Yeah.
What is that?
So the polarity strategy is all about defining yourself by what you don't want to be.
Okay.
So, for example, think of a leader that you just really dislike.
Okay.
Maybe they're really arrogant,
Uh-huh.
they micromanage, or maybe they take all the credit.
Right.
By recognizing those qualities as your anti-role model,
Okay.
you can then clarify becoming so obsessed with enemies,
Right.
real or imagined, that we lose sight of our own goals.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance,
Okay.
using the polarity strategy
Mm-hmm.
to clarify your values,
Right.
but not letting it consume you.
Right. So it's good to have that awareness of this is what I don't want.
Yeah,
This is who I don't want to be.
exactly.
But then not letting that be the thing that defines you.
Right, it's a tool. It's not the whole toolbox.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
It's like that, right?
Yeah.
It's one tool.
So, but what about all that baggage we carry from the past, right? How does that fit into all this?
Well, that's where the guerrilla war of the mind strategy comes in.
Wow, okay.
It's about recognizing that sometimes we are our own worst enemies
Okay.
because we're clinging to outdated beliefs.
Oh, for sure.
We're letting past failures, control our present actions.
Like holding us back, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've all been there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stuck in those old patterns.
Yeah. Letting fear kind of dictate what we do and don't do.
Exactly. So how do we break free from that?
Yeah.
Well, Greene emphasizes constantly re-examining our beliefs and assumptions.
So not just taking them for granted.
Yeah, because what worked for us in the past might not be relevant anymore. right?
Right.
It's about being adaptable, being open to new information, and challenging our own thinking.
So being flexible, mentally flexible.
Exactly.
Like updating our software,
Exactly.
our brain software to
Yes.
keep up with the changing world. It's
Yeah.
not just about like knowing what we want. It's about being willing to change
Totally.
when we need to.
Right, like that saying, what got you here won't get you there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's easy to fall into routines, right?
Oh, so easy.
They're comfortable,
Yeah.
but sometimes you got to shake things up,
Right.
even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and Greene even suggests sometimes like reverse
Oh, wow.
some of your patterns
Just to see what happens.
to jolt yourself out of complacency.
Interesting.
Yeah,
But, sometimes I feel like life is just so much chaos
it really is.
that it's like,
Yeah.
how can I even think about staying present and adaptable?
Right, right.
It feels impossible.
Well, that's where the counterbalance strategy comes in.
Okay.
It's about cultivating that mental toughness
Okay.
to stay calm and clear, even when things are crazy.
So finding that, like, eye of the hurricane
Yes.
when everything is swirling around you.
Exactly.
Like, how do you do that?
Well, Greene offers a few tactics.
Sure.
One of them is what he calls the, and this is kind of funny, hyper-aggressive tactic.
Okay.
So when you're feeling panicky, do something.
Just do it.
Yes, take action.
Okay.
Even if it's not perfect.
Just move?
Yeah, anything is better than freezing up.
Okay. So it's about taking action to break through that feeling of being paralyzed, basically.
Exactly. But then he also acknowledges that sometimes the opposite is needed.
Okay. Interesting.
So he calls that the detached Buddha tactic.
Okay. So what's that?
It's cultivating that inner calm through preparation and detachment.
So in a way, that's kind of like the Stoic idea of like, you can only control
Exactly.
what you can control, and the rest of it, you got to let it go.
Right. So it's knowing when to push and when to hold back.
Right. And all this ties into what he calls fingertip feel.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's like intuitive decision making.
Okay.
It comes from deep knowledge and experience.
Like when you practice something so much,
Yes.
you don't even have to think about it.
It's like second nature.
Yeah, you just react.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But I got to ask about one detail that really stood out to me.
Yeah, there are a lot of good ones in here.
The death ground strategy.
Oh, yeah. This one is provocative.
That one seems a little intense.
It is?
Like putting yourself in a situation where the stakes are so high that you have to take action.
It's about, raising the stakes.
Isn't that a little crazy?
Yes, one of his more provocative ideas.
Yeah.
He uses the example of burning your ship.
Right, like you're going all in.
Metaphorically, eliminating your safety nets to fully commit.
Okay.
So it's removing those escape routes that can dilute our focus.
So you have to succeed.
Yeah.
Because there's no other option.
Exactly.
But isn't that incredibly risky?
It can be.
Yeah.
It's not about being reckless. It's about, using pressure and urgency to your advantage.
Okay.
So, think about it like this. When the stakes are high, we tend to rise to the occasion.
Right. Like you perform better when there's pressure.
Our focus sharpens.
Right.
We get creative. We find strength we didn't even know we had.
Okay, so it's like you're harnessing that.
Yeah.
Like fight or flight.
That energy,
But in a calculated way. Exactly.
To push yourself beyond your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But that's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Just in terms of mastering our own internal battles.
Yes, absolutely.
But how about those external battles, right? What about when we're dealing with other people?
Yeah.
Like, how do his strategies apply to
working with others?
Teamwork, yeah. Or organizations, or even just our personal relationships.
That's where his strategies for what he calls organizational warfare come in.
Okay.
So Greene draws these really interesting parallels between military structures and, successful teams.
So we're going from the battlefield within to the battlefield
of teamwork.
Of teamwork and leadership, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how that works, because I'm not like appointing generals at my work.
Hopefully not.
Right.
That would be a little much.
Yeah. So how do we translate this into something practical?
Right.
That we can use in our everyday lives? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a literal translation, of course.
Right.
But he argues that, things like command and control, clear missions, high morale, are just as relevant in like a business setting as they are on a battlefield.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like a well-run team needs structure, needs direction.
Totally.
Just like an army does, right?
Yeah.
But how do we actually use that in our daily lives. I mean, I'm not out here appointing generals at work, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
So how do we translate that?
Well, one strategy that stands out is what he calls the command and control strategy.
Okay.
It's about finding that balance between authority and participation.
So you need someone in charge.
You do.
But you don't want to stifle people.
Right. You don't want to be a dictator.
Right, exactly.
Right, because they might win a few battles, but in the long run...
Yeah, they're not wants to follow them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So how do you
walk that line?
Yeah, how do you walk that line?
Well, Greene stresses building a team with complementary skills.
Okay.
You know, he calls it a mosaic.
Oh, interesting.
Of talents.
Okay.
So you've got, all these different people bring their unique strengths.
Right.
And then it's about setting clear goals.
Okay.
Clear expectations. But giving people the autonomy.
Right.
To achieve them in their own way.
Right.
So you're the architect.
Yes.
You set the vision.
Laying out the plan.
But everyone gets to kind of build their own part of it.
Yes. It's like you're providing the blueprint, but you're not micromanaging every brick they lay.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Oh, yeah.
This reminds me of something else he talks about, the controlled chaos strategy.
Oh, yeah.
What is that all about?
It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
He's saying that in today's world, things change so fast.
Right. Rigid structures can actually be a liability.
Okay.
You need to be able to adapt.
Right.
And sometimes that means embracing a little chaos.
Right. It sounds kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah. Isn't that like an oxymoron?
In a way.
Yeah.
But the key is to have that strong foundation of trust and shared purpose.
Right. So you're all on the same page.
Exactly. So he calls this mission command.
Okay.
So you're uniting the team around a common goal.
Shared vision.
Yeah. And then giving them the freedom to operate
right.
within that framework.
Okay.
So think of it like a jazz ensemble.
Oh, wait.
Everyone knows the melody.
Right.
But each musician gets to improvise.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, they get to bring their own style to it.
It's like you're all working together, but you also have that individual...
That creative freedom.
Yeah, that creative freedom. I like that a lot.
But there's another piece here I think we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Morale.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, how do you keep people...
Greene dedicates a whole section to this.
Really?
Yeah, to morale and motivation.
Okay.
And he argues that people are most engaged when they feel connected to something bigger.
Like a sense of purpose.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like their work has meaning beyond just a paycheck.
Right. It's not just a job.
Yeah, he calls this transforming your war into a crusade.
Okay.
So it's about getting people inspired, making them feel like they're part of something important.
Right. Even if it's just launching a new product.
Even if it's a small goal.
Yeah, or hitting a quarterly goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about creating a shared narrative.
No, interesting.
A sense of belonging.
Okay.
A belief in the mission.
So you're not just setting tasks. You're creating this whole...
You're telling a story.
Yeah, you're telling a story, and you're getting people to buy into it.
Exactly. And he even suggests using storytelling and myths.
Oh, wow.
To create a shared history and identity.
Like company folklore, almost.
Yeah. Like, think about how companies often tell stories about,
Yeah, their humble beginnings.
Yes, their humble beginnings, or like their against all odds success story.
Like, just makes them seem more relatable.
It makes people connect to the company's values.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it makes them feel like they're part of something bigger.
Exactly. It's fascinating how these seemingly simple things can have such a big impact on a team.
Yeah.
But even the most inspired teams face setbacks.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes you need to retreat.
Right.
You need to regroup, defend your position. That's where his strategies for defensive warfare come in.
Okay, so we're talking about damage control.
Yeah.
Knowing when to hold back. Conserve your resources.
Conserve your energy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So in a business context, that could be anything from like a PR crisis or a competitor coming after you.
Exactly.
So what kind of strategies?
Well, one of the most important is the perfect economy strategy.
Okay.
So it's recognizing your limitations.
Okay.
Choosing your battles wisely.
Right, because you can't win them all.
You can't win them all.
Right.
And sometimes it's better to walk away from a fight than to win a victory that leaves you, depleted and vulnerable.
Yeah, it's like that Pyrrhic victory, right?
Exactly. You win, but at what cost?
But you've lost everything.
Yeah.
So
it's about being strategic with your energy and your resources.
Okay.
So he talks about, choosing battles that build momentum.
Okay.
So pick the fights you can win, the ones that will give you a psychological advantage.
Okay.
And set you up for future success.
So it's not about being afraid to fight.
Right.
It's about picking the right fights.
Exactly.
To engage in.
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can't avoid confrontation.
Right. What happens then?
Right. What do you do?
Well, that's where the counterattack strategy comes in.
Yeah.
It's about using your opponent's aggression against them.
Oh, okay.
So it's like judo.
Right.
You're redirecting their force to your advantage.
Like that rope-a-dope technique in boxing?
Exactly.
Okay.
You let your opponent tire themselves out, and then you strike.
When they're weak.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So Greene emphasizes staying calm, detached, not getting sucked in.
Right, not letting your emotions...
For their emotional game?
Yeah, take over.
Yeah. And he also talks about mirroring their behavior.
Oh, interesting.
So reflecting back their energy.
Okay.
To subtly gain control.
So it's like this psychological game.
It is. It's like a chess match.
Yeah, like a chess match where you're always thinking a few steps ahead.
Exactly.
But wouldn't that be exhausting?
It can be, yeah.
To always be on guard, waiting for an attack.
That's why he also talks about deterrence.
Okay.
You know? So it's about creating a reputation that makes people think twice about attacking you.
So like an aura of strength.
Yeah, confidence.
Yeah.
Even if you don't always feel that way on the inside.
Fake it till you make it, kind of.
In a way, yeah, it's about setting boundaries.
Right.
And making it clear that you're not an easy target.
Mm-hmm.
And he even suggests cultivating a bit of an unpredictable reputation.
Oh, interesting.
So people are never quite sure what to expect from you.
Keep them guessing.
Exactly.
So it's not about being aggressive or anything. It's about sending that message.
Right. It's like, don't mess with me.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
But what happens when, you know, you can't avoid it?
Yeah.
You're up against someone who seems to have all the advantages, like they've got all the resources, all the power. What do you do then?
Well, he has a strategy for that too.
Okay.
It might surprise you.
Okay, what is it?
He calls it the non-engagement strategy.
What? Just walk away?
Essentially, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make you seem weak?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
He argues that by refusing to engage on their terms, you can throw them off balance.
Okay.
And force them to overextend themselves.
So you're making them waste their energy on something that's not even...
That's not going to get them anywhere.
Right.
It's about, you know, choosing your battles and recognizing that sometimes strategic withdrawal is the path to victory.
Interesting. Okay.
Wow.
So it's about being patient,
Yes.
disciplined, and knowing when to fold them.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes you got to walk away to actually win in the long run.
Precisely.
Okay, interesting.
So that brings us to the next section of the book, which is all about offensive warfare.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
We've been on the defense for a while.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go on the offensive.
Okay, good.
Achieve some goals.
So Greene starts by emphasizing what he calls grand strategy.
Okay.
So it's thinking beyond those immediate battles.
Okay.
Developing a bigger plan.
So thinking like a general, not just a soldier.
Precisely.
Okay.
And a key element of that is understanding your enemy.
Right. Know your opponent.
Yeah, he argues that a deeper understanding of their motivations and weaknesses is more powerful than any material advantage.
So it's not about having the biggest army or the most resources. It's about knowing your opponent better than they know themselves.
Exactly. And that's where the intelligence strategy comes in.
Okay.
It's about gathering information, observing patterns, getting inside their head.
So that's valuable in any kind of competitive situation,
Yeah.
like business negotiations or
Even just an argument.
even just an argument with your partner.
Right.
Yeah.
And he talks about gathering information from diverse sources,
Okay.
not just relying on one perspective.
So getting the full picture.
Yeah. And he even advocates getting close to your opponent,
Oh, wow. Okay.
observing their vulnerabilities firsthand.
That sounds a little sneaky.
It can be,
Yeah.
but knowledge is power, right?
Right. That's true. That's true.
So speaking of power, one of the most effective offensive strategies
Okay.
he talks about is the blitzkrieg strategy.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's about using speed and surprise
Okay.
to overwhelm your opponents.
So like catching them off guard?
Yes, before they even have time to react.
That makes sense, like throwing them off balance.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So he gives the example of, you know, creating the expectation of slowness.
Oh, so they're not expecting it.
Yeah, you lull them into a false sense of security.
Right.
And then bam.
Hit them with everything you've got.
Exactly. You strike suddenly and decisively.
That's a good tactic.
It's about mastering deception and timing.
Okay, this is all starting to sound very Machiavellian.
It's getting a little intense, right?
Yeah, like, are we really saying that you should do this in everyday life? Like,
that's a good question.
Where's the line between being strategic and being manipulative?
That's a great question. And that's something we should definitely unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point.
Yeah.
These strategies aren't inherently good or evil.
Right.
It's all about how you apply them.
So, like, it's a tool.
It is. It's like a tool.
Okay.
A hammer can build a house or it can break a window.
Right, right.
It's neutral.
It's all about how you use it.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's not about being, ruthless.
Right.
It's about understanding the principles and using them in a way that, aligns with your values.
So where were we?
Oh, we were talking about the Blitzkrieg strategy.
Yeah, right. Speed and surprise.
Yeah, which is definitely a powerful concept.
Uh-huh.
But there are a few other offensive strategies that Greene talks about.
Yeah, what else is there?
One that builds on that idea of speed and disruption is the center of gravity strategy.
Okay, what's that?
It's about identifying your opponent's, source of power, their Achilles heel,
right,
and striking at that point.
So you're not just attacking randomly. You're finding that one weak spot.
Exactly. You're trying to dismantle their whole structure.
Like a Jenga tower.
Yes.
You pull out the wrong block, it all falls apart.
Exactly. You don't have to pull out every block, just the right one.
And how do you find that center of gravity?
That's the tricky part, right? It takes a deep understanding of your opponent.
Right.
Their strengths, their weaknesses, their psychology even.
So you're not just looking at the surface.
No.
You're looking...
You got to go deeper.
Yeah, deeper, okay.
He talks about analyzing their system, their patterns of behavior, their underlying motivations.
So it's like detective work almost.
It is, yeah.
Piecing together the clues.
Trying to figure out what makes them tick.
Right, exactly.
So it requires patience, careful observation.
And a willingness to think outside the box.
Exactly.
This reminds me of divide and conquer.
Oh, yes.
That's another classic military strategy. It's a classic for a reason.
Right, so how does that work in everyday life?
Well, it's about weakening your opponents.
Okay.
By creating divisions within their ranks.
Okay.
Breaking their alliances.
Right.
Isolating them.
So it's about turning people against each other.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
It sounds a little ruthless, but it happens all the time.
Yeah, like office politics.
Exactly. Or even family dynamics.
For sure.
So he highlights positioning yourself strategically to influence those relationships.
So you're like the puppet master.
You become a power broker.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is where I start to get a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, it can be a little unsettling.
Yeah.
Because these strategies can be used for good.
Right.
But they can also be twisted.
Yeah, to manipulate people.
Exactly.
And hurt them.
And that's why he talks about ethics.
Okay.
It's about understanding the power and choosing to use it responsibly.
So even if you're in a competitive situation, you still want to be a good person. You don't have to compromise your integrity.
Right, okay.
So it's not just about winning. It's about how you win.
Okay, I like that.
So we've talked about mastering our internal battles, building teams, defending ourselves, even going on the offensive.
Right, a lot of ground covered.
What's next?
Yeah, what else is there?
Well, the final section of the book
Okay.
is perhaps the most intriguing
Okay.
and arguably the most controversial.
Uh-oh.
He calls it unconventional warfare.
Unconventional warfare. Okay.
This is where things get a little bit more...
A little more intense?
Yeah, a little more out there.
Okay.
He talks about breaking the rules,
Right.
exploiting psychological weaknesses,
Okay.
winning through indirection.
So we're talking psychological warfare, manipulation even.
In a way, yeah.
Okay, so how do we do that ethically?
Right. That's the key, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's not necessarily about being malicious or unethical.
Okay.
It's about understanding perception and how to use it to your advantage.
So playing mind games, basically.
It can be, yes.
Yeah.
One strategy he highlights is misperception strategies.
Okay.
So it's about controlling the narrative,
Okay.
blending fact and fiction.
So creating smoke and mirrors
In a way, yeah,
to make your opponent doubt themselves?
to control the situation.
Okay, but that sounds really
It can be, yeah.
like manipulative.
It can be. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And that's why he's always stressing self-awareness,
Okay.
ethical considerations.
Right.
These strategies are not for everyone.
Right. You got to use them carefully.
You got to use them with caution and discernment.
So it's not just about winning. It's about winning
In the right way.
the right way. Yeah.
In a way that aligns with your values.
Okay.
So another strategy in this section is the ordinary extraordinary strategy.
Okay. What's that?
It's based on the idea that people expect conformity.
Okay.
They expect us to follow the rules.
Right. We're creatures of habit.
Exactly. So this strategy is about disrupting that, doing something completely unexpected.
Shaking things up.
Yes.
Breaking the mold.
Throw them off balance.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like that moment in a song
Okay.
where the tempo suddenly changes.
Right, or the melody takes a weird turn.
Exactly. It catches your attention.
Right, you're like, what just happened?
It makes you pay attention.
Okay, I like that.
So it's about using disruption
Uh-huh.
to shift perception,
Okay.
gain an advantage.
But what about when you're facing someone who's just really powerful? Like they have all the resources, they have the upper hand.
It feels like an uphill battle.
Yeah, what do you do then?
Well, Greene has a strategy for that, too.
Okay.
It's called the strategy of the void.
The strategy of the void. Okay.
Yeah, it's about denying your opponent a target,
Okay.
frustrating them with these elusive attacks.
So like hit and run tactics.
Exactly, like guerrilla warfare.
Okay.
Wearing them down over time.
So you're being agile.
Yes.
Adaptable, unpredictable.
Yeah.
They can't hit a moving target.
Right, it's the classic underdog strategy.
Right, so you're using their size against them.
Yeah, think of it like a swarm of bees attacking a bear.
Oh, wow.
The bear is stronger,
Right.
but the bees are just too numerous.
Right, and they're too fast.
And too agile.
Right, the bear can't swat them all.
Exactly.
I like that.
So you're turning their strength into a weakness.
Okay, that's clever.
And another strategy that can be effective,
Oh, yeah?
especially against a stronger opponent, is the alliance strategy.
Okay, what's that about?
It's about leveraging the strength of others,
Okay.
forming partnerships, building coalitions.
So the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Exactly.
You're finding people who have a shared goal.
Yeah, you might not agree on everything,
Right.
but you have common enemy.
Right, okay.
So it's about recognizing you don't have to fight every battle alone.
Right.
Sometimes the best move is to join forces.
Yeah. There's strength in numbers.
Exactly. And one final strategy I want to highlight.
Okay, hit me.
It's called the fait accompli strategy.
The fait accompli strategy.
So it's about acting quickly and decisively,
Right.
presenting your actions as a done deal,
Oh, okay.
and then justifying them afterwards.
So, like, just do it and then explain later.
Essentially, yes.
Really?
Yeah, it's about creating a situation where it's
Absolutely.
harder to undo what you've done
Right.
than to just accept it.
It's a bold move.
It is. It's a risky strategy,
Yeah.
but it can be very effective.
But this whole discussion about unconventional warfare,
Yeah.
it's fascinating, but also a little scary.
I understand.
Like,
all that.
are we really advocating for this?
Well, the thing to remember is knowledge is power.
Okay.
By understanding these strategies, we're better equipped to recognize them
Okay.
when they're being used against us
That's true.
and to use them ethically ourselves.
Right. So it's about awareness.
Exactly.
Even if we don't use them,
Even if you choose not to play the game,
you still got to know the rules.
you got to know the rules of the game.
Okay, that's a good point.
So that brings us to the end of our deep dive.
Wow, what a journey.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
We have
From mastering our inner battles to building teams.
the waging psychological warfare.
It's been a lot.
It's been quite the deep dive.
Yeah, it really has.
It gives you a new perspective, doesn't it,
It does, yeah.
on everyday life.
Yeah, and while I'm not sure I'm ready to,
To go full strategic warrior?
yeah, to go full strategic warrior, I definitely feel like I have a better understanding of,
Of the dynamics.
yeah, of the forces at play
The forces at play.
in the world.
And that's the power of knowledge, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
It helps us see things more clearly.
Okay, so to our listeners,
Yeah.
we encourage you to check out the book.
Yeah. The 33 Strategies of War.
Yeah, see what resonates with you.
You might be surprised how these ancient strategies
Mm-hmm.
can be applied to modern life.
And as you go about your day, pay attention to those subtle strategies
See if you can spot them.
that are being used all around you.
You might be surprised
You might be surprised.
at what you see.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
into the world of strategic thinking.
We'll see you next time.
Until next time, stay curious and stay strategic.